Welcome to What Are You Sporting About podcast, a podcast about business, employment, sports, and entertainment to help educate, support, and guide you to your next level. Here's your host, attorney Savania de Barros.
Hello, everyone. I am back. Savania de Barros, the protector of athletes, for another episode of What Are You Sporting About. I'm so excited for this episode today. But before we go in, let me just reintroduce myself to you guys. You know, I'm the protector of athletes, also the founder and principal attorney of the S.L. de Barros Law Firm, and now the best-selling author of two amazing books, What Are You Sporting About, which inspired this podcast, and Athletes Making Moves. How you can get What Are You Sporting About, make sure that you go to prosportlawyer.com to get your copy, and you can go to Athletes Making Moves to get your copy of our new bestseller. So, and make sure that you subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode. You can do that on any platform where you listen to podcasts. So I am going to introduce my guests because we got a few people today. Normally I interview one person at a time, but these two gentlemen are absolutely phenomenal, and I've had an opportunity to not just talk with them, but also work with them. And everything that they have going on is amazing. It's going to blow your mind once they start talking about it. So first we have Mr. J. Darren Williams over here. He is the COO of Eraslan Media, and he's the VP of the International FXC organization. Now, that is the same organization that Max Bartoli, who's also here today, is a co-founder of. And Max is actually a media producer for the World Bank Group in Washington, D.C., and a consultant of other private companies in Europe and the USA since 2012, actually. So I'm going to let them tell you guys a little bit more about who they are and what brought them to What Are You Sporting About. So let's start with Max, and since you're at the top of my screen.
Okay, thank you very much, Sivanya. Thanks, everyone, for watching. I'm Italian American, and I grew up in Rome, and I've always been in sports. I'm a lawyer, but I ended up in production, so in a nutshell. And I'm here today, thanks to you, to talk about a new sport that I co-created in 1994, being inspired by the stellar performance of the USA Dream Team basketball team during the Olympic Games of 1982. This sport is called Fireball Extreme Challenge. It's very simple. First of all, it's the only sport, mandatory co-ed team sport, with men and women perform at the same level. So men and women not only have to play together, but they do it expressing the same performance level. And that guarantees 100% of gender equality on the court. It's a very fast game. The four basic rules are: we make points. We don't have a touchdown, goal post, etc. We make points with passes. Ball has to be passed every 2 seconds. You can never stop when you are on the court. You must always have at least 3 members of the opposite gender on the court. And of course, you need to have a lot of fun while playing it. So we created...
I love that. Before we dive deeper into FXC, let's get some more background on Darren, and then we're going to talk more about how you came to create FXC, and talk a lot more too about this gender equality that you guys have going on with that, because that's something that really interested me and piqued my interest when I first met you in the way that you talked about it. So let's go over to Darren. Darren, if you want to give us more background about you, go ahead and do that now, and then we'll get into FXC.
Yeah, thank you, Savonia. So as she mentioned, I'm the COO of Eraslan Media. We founded that back in 2017 while my partner and I, Barack Eraslan, were at Seton Hall University in North New Jersey. Prior to making it our full-time commitment, I worked in the sports media industry up in New York with Fox and CBS Sports, covering sports from football, basketball, baseball, soccer. My background in sports was not just limited to basketball, which was my main sport, but I enjoyed them all. And so now getting to get involved with people like Savonia and obviously Max on an in-depth level, getting to show that sports love from an agency standpoint has been tremendous and a lot of fun. So blessed to have sports back after COVID, and we're looking forward to seeing what everybody puts on the court of the field in the next coming months.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious to know though, what got you guys together as a team?
A common friend in 2019. My partners and I, my wife and I, and our partners were looking for a U.S. team to come and be part of the third international tournament that we did in about Fireball Extreme Challenge. So we met Ramon Penny, who is a common friend of Ramon and I, and Ramon helped us putting together this team. And Darren was in the team that came to Mexico the first time, and then from there we just took off. So
that is awesome. And you are the co-founder of FXC. Who is your partner in this organization?
We have 4 partners. The main partner is my wife. We are partners in crime, as we're used to say. Then there is our friend and brother Arnie List, and the other co-creator is Roberto Ciccoli, another Italian. And of course, we are the co-founders of the International Fireball Federation. Darren is one of the co-founders of the international, besides being also the VP of the organization, which is the only company that is a licensee of all the trademarks and brands of the sport.
Got you. Now, previously you were talking about the logistics of the sport and how people play the sport. Why is that important in the grand scheme of inclusion and maybe even diversity? Like, why would the way someone, like the speed of the game, be an important aspect of inclusion for FXC?
Darren, you go first.
I think for the most obvious reasons, it's for entertainment purposes. A lot of people look at it and say, okay, you know what? Sports that move faster capture attention, right? So FXC is, you have 2 seconds to possess the ball before it's got to be gone. So the ball moves rapidly, points can be racked up extremely quickly. And so basically, if you blink, you're going to most likely miss something. That's the first thing. But more importantly than that, harnessing the speed across all athlete types is what's extremely important, because what differentiates FXC from all other sports, aside from the fact that it's mandatory co-ed, is that there's no drop off, because the speed is harnessed by any of the athletes, men or women, that end up playing. So, being able to actually harness that and perform at the same level provides an opportunity for all athletes that participate in FXC. And we think that that's a very attractive thing for all athletes who may or may not get the opportunity to perform in the sport that they, I'll say, initially intended to set their sights on.
Yeah, and this is, I'm sorry, and this is because this sport is not based, it was not built around the characteristics or elements like explosivity and strength. So here, first of all, if you are like LeBron James, with all due respect, he's a great athlete, we all love him. But if you are LeBron James, it doesn't, or Michael Jordan, whatever, it doesn't do anything, because this is the only team sport. You are worth 2 seconds, which is how long you have to keep the ball. So if you don't develop this team spirit, if you don't develop peripheral vision, if you don't know where everybody is every time, at any time on the court, you cannot come in and do a 3-pointer, at the last minute and change the game. Here, you need to be a team. You need to learn how to work together. And the other good thing, like Darren said, anybody. We have athletes who are 5'3", 5'4", female, who dusted people who are 6'4". It doesn't matter which type of body you have, you end up developing other things. Of course, when you look at the individual drills, when we test people, right, men tend to have better results because, of course, men's body is built differently. So we have more red muscles, more nerves. So we tend to be more explosive. That's fine. You have it. And this is interesting in Fireball. Everybody's tested singular individually. So you can take down the test and then you put them in on the court and have them playing fireball, and you see how everything gets leveled. And so, as I said, Darren can confirm, we have in Mexico female athletes which are 5'4", 5'5", 5'6", who dusted some of our American friends who were 6'3", 6'4", super athletic, jumping, whatever, 6 feet. And that's the nature of this sport.
I will neither confirm nor deny who those individuals were. However, I will say that that is the absolute fact, and it is amazing to see their performance against competition where you're destroying the stigma, where it doesn't make sense or it shouldn't make sense for them to be able to do that, whereas Fireball allows them to do so and encourages it.
Yeah, I think of a deeper conversation around athleticism in sport when I, hear you guys talk about your physical type or your gender is not a deciding factor of whether you can perform in this sport. It makes me think about how we all can be athletes of life, right? We may not fit the mold for everything that someone says that we should, but we're all still sporting about something. And so with that being said, I do want to ask each of you, what are you sporting about mean to you in your own unique way?
I'll start with this one because I've had a pretty extensive introduction to what are you sporting about. And so honestly, I think about this on a pretty regular basis now. So I think your branding slogan for this is doing its job. But for me, it's really what gets you out of bed. What encourages you, what excites you, what energizes you, because it doesn't necessarily just pertain to a specific sport or discipline of what you're doing. So, I mean, it doesn't even have to be an actual activity. It could be a thing, it could be a person that you're sporting about, because that is what drives you to actually complete something, to be excited about something. So, as far as not just what FXC as a sport presents for me specifically, or for any of the athletes that are also competing, but also the pillars of FXC around its sustainability and its equality, that gets people excited because it presents that, I'll say, almost a platform for people to show out everything that they're sporting about, not just what they practice.
I totally agree. And if I can compliment, for me, sports have always been a great tool to improve the athletes' lives. It doesn't matter, you don't have to not everybody can become a champion in sports, but all of us can become champions in life. Sports help us understanding the importance of working together toward one goal, respecting our opponents, improving always ourselves. I mean, we are our first opponent, our first adversary. We need to improve. It's always first against us, ourselves, and then against the other. And it's not against, it's with the others. And so sports have always done that. Fireball decided to push the envelope 2 steps forward. And that is, we are the only team sport where we really, really have to work together despite our, differences. I mean, I always say unity gives us power and diversity gives us strength. We encourage everybody to be diverse. We respect everybody. Doesn't matter who you are, which the religion, which the ethnicity, we don't care. We are just players. And this for us is a good metaphor of life. Sports in general, right? Sports, the Olympic Games, the Olympic spirit. This is what it is, right? We go, we compete, and we become friends. And this is a great thing. And with Fireball, we do that too. But we try to teach ourselves and our kids that if we learn how to play together since we were kids, all the same. We talk a lot about gender equality, men and women, same rights. Well, on the court, there is no difference on Fireball. And it's easier to teach kids who are 4, 5. We are in schools with 4 and 5, from kindergarten to high schools in Mexico and other countries. So it's easier to teach by example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, when you said diversity gives us strength, I'm like, come on, Max, mic drop for real. Because I think the way that sport is set up, it is so gender exclusive. and now being in a time where people are so gender fluid, it's like, where do I fit? If I wanted to be in a cultural part of a community that would accept me, where do I fit, right? Because you have all of these labels saying that you're supposed to go here, you're supposed to go there, or this group is not going to accept you. But if we can embrace each other's diverse backgrounds, it makes us stronger. And when you said that, I'm like, yeah. And it seems like that is exactly what FXC is designed to do, is not only just have a good time and entertain other people, but show how you can collectively create strength, right? From appreciating the differences that everybody brings to the table.
Absolutely. And listen, we do this on multiple levels. I found out later, I mean, we have over 20 teams in Mexico, and we found out after we had registered them that we had gay people, straight people, bisexual people, Muslims, Jews, Christian, Catholics, etc., in teams. We didn't know because it didn't matter. I mean, we don't look at that. I don't care. We are based on respect. And so the most important thing is, whoever you are, we have the first of all our referees are half men, half women. So on the court and outside on the table, we don't have all men or all women. It has always to be 50-50. But we also have now the first transgender referee. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. We need to go beyond this. I mean, why do we care about what you do, which faith that you have, which sexuality? It's not my problem. As long as we respect each other, we learn how to work together. And the fact that we are different is good. This is what gives us strength. And when you in Fireball, we see it from the sports side, because we are getting athletes from all sorts of sports: CrossFit, basketball, handball. And this means that everybody starts bringing their own techniques. Darren brought his own technique, his own moves, and other people looked at him and said, oh, interesting, I want to do the same. And then Darren looked at others from other sports and like, I like this. And this brings this and pushes the sport to evolve even faster. That's why we say unity gives us power, but diversity gives us strength, because this is thanks to this that we can push the sport's limit, the boundaries further.
Yeah.
I'm gonna echo that, because when he talks about the moves in particular, it's crazy to think about, and especially watching film, the difference between our competition the first time we went and the second time. Granted, we had a year of COVID in between that obviously interrupted the progress, but there was, quite frankly, no drop off. In fact, an increase in performance, because everybody was paying attention. Like, okay, this is how we defend more properly. This is how we maneuver and evade defenders better. So you look at it and say, okay, this is something that evolves on a daily, gamely basis, especially when we have these tournaments where you look at people from a bunch of different disciplines. Like, basketball is a great example. You look at somebody, and I'll take Rajon Rondo, for example, who does a lot of ball fakes, a lot of dribble fakes. That wasn't necessarily some people's game at first, but by his creativity, people started to pick it up and implement it into their game. And that's the same thing that's going on with FXC. But I feel like there is a wider contribution of diversity, because you're bringing other sports to the table, not just saying, hey, I'm going to mimic this move that's used specifically by this player for basketball or football or anything else, but bringing them all to the table for FXC.
Yeah. I think about this, the sport handball. How does this differ from that?
Well, we are different from handball because handball has a direction of a play. You have a goal post. You make points by doing goals. We don't. So fireball doesn't have a direction of the play. We have a 82 by 49 feet court, and you constantly change direction, because the goal of the game, pun intended, is to score points, and you score points by passing the ball. So you use all the ball. We don't have defense and attack, in the sense that you don't have like a player that can, for example, like in football, like in soccer, where you defend, and then when the ball goes ahead or passes to the attacking team or whatever, you can sit out. Everybody does everything here. So you defend, you attack, you move around, and this is the main difference that we have from every other sport. Basketball, handball, soccer, American football, they all have a direction to play. You need to go from here to there. We don't, which means change of directions are crazy. The speed is crazy. The ball moves at a speed that it's unmatched in any other sport. It's not how fast we throw, it's how fast it gets passed. When you have a ball in a ball possession, 26 different passes, that means in 28 seconds, 30 seconds, this means a lot.
That's very interesting. We have a viewer that said they are a huge fan of FXC. Great work, Max and Darren. I would have to echo it. I've been super excited about this sport since the first moment I met and talked with you about what FXC aimed to do and was doing. When you talk about not even scoring points, like the way that you have to score it is to pass the ball. And maybe I'm just getting so literal because, a lot of people just in life feel that if they don't score certain points, they don't make a certain, they don't get to a certain place in their life, that everything is over. But what FXC does, you is like, you just got to keep moving. You got to keep moving. And the more that you move, the more that you work with each other, the more you do score points. And so, like, there's a huge lesson, I feel like, out of that people may not even probably be thinking of while they're playing that type of ball, that when they leave, when they do decide to say, okay, I'm done with FXC and playing, that they can take that same idea into their life and know that I don't have to set a certain, I don't even want to say it that way, not setting a certain goal, but I don't have to reach the level that other people think I'm supposed to reach just for me to have garnered some form of success for myself, because it's not about the standards that society sets for me. It's about how I feel in the process and what I've achieved myself in this process.
Absolutely.
So I can actually make a very literal, I'll say, connection between that statement, and that's for defense for FXC. FXC doesn't have a clock, so it's not you're fighting to try and score as many points against the other team's amount of points within a time limit. You have a limited amount of possessions. So once your possessions run out, if you believe that you're not going to be able to score any more points now that you're not given the ball to start, you've lost, because the other team might have 5 possessions left and you can score on each one of those possessions by going and getting a steal, get a turnover, and turn one of their possessions into yours. So I connect that to your life example because, we might, as a team, set a goal of 100 points. And if we hit 100 points, there's no way we lose, right? That might not necessarily be the case. However, if we fall short of 100 points, knowing that was the goal set by the team, if you're not mentally tough to say, you know what, we can still hit 100 points, or we don't need 100 points in order to win if we go get stops, then you've lost, right? So in life, if you say, I'm going to set this goal of, I don't know, having a position in your office by a certain age, or making a certain amount of money, or having something in particular that's a demonstration of achievement, then by your standards, you failed, right? But
I like that.
as a matter of fact, you still have an opportunity to go and secure that some other way that you didn't necessarily
Initially planned.
predict.
Yeah.
Predict in advance.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I always quote a very old African motto. I think it was Masai's, but don't quote me on the source. The Africans tribes were used to say, one African tribe was used to say, if you want to go fast, run by yourself, run alone. If you want to go far, run together. And again, I am a super competitive person. I've done martial arts all my life, so I know what it means being competitive. And there is nothing bad in being competitive. Competition is what drives us, right? To achieve, to improve ourselves and to improve our lives. But I would like to, and this is why I co-created Fireball. I would like to do the same by sharing it with our brothers and sisters, with our teams, because I think that we need to rediscover a little bit more the importance of achieving things together. The US showed the world what it can do when it is united. This country, our country, I became American probably, as well, showed the world what it meant, what we could do when we were together, and we now have lost it, have lost that, in my opinion, of course. And I think that we need to rediscover this, and if sport can be one tool to do that, if Fireball can be one tool to do that, so be it. We can, it can always make us proud. But you know being I think that achieving things is great. Achieving them with the people you love, with people that are near you, is even better, makes it even sweeter. This at least is my point of view.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I love that quote. I actually put it in What Are You Sporting About book behind one of the chapters, because it's so true, But it reminds me that based on that quote, even if you are doing something by yourself, we're not technically always alone, right? It takes other people to help us and to encourage us and to lift us up and to give us guidance, or to help us to understand things differently than what we, would have understood in the first place. And so with all of that collective effort, that helps us to go further than just trying to do something by yourself and doing it so fast, that the fact that you become burned out and you can't even finish the race that you started in the first place. I absolutely love that quote. And it constantly reminds me to slow down in a way, because it's not about how fast you can complete something, right? But it's about the quality and the passion of how and what you do with what you have. I don't know if you guys watched the Olympics this year, and I was so surprised to see, I think it was the 4x4 co-ed. And I was like, we ain't never done this before. We've never done this before. And it was shocking to me. So now I see that organizations are catching on that there needs to be more diversity and inclusion in sports. Do you think that this is something that other people had already been thinking about? Or do you believe that FXC is, no matter what other people come up with, FXC is just going to be the poster child, for example, of co-ed, diverse, and inclusion for sports?
I'm going to step in as the lesser biased of the two of us on the call right now, and say that we will always be the poster child for this, because we implemented that from the very beginning. Not to knock the track organizations for implementing it now, but we're being proactive about it instead of reactive. And I'm not, like I said, not knocking it. I thought it was interesting. I think it's good. But at the same time, if you just pose the question that you did, we will be the poster child for this, because they're going to be tweaking it. They're going to be trying to figure out how to make it not just competitive or fair, but also keep it around so that people don't complain about it. Whereas with FXC, this is one of the main rules. There's no getting around it. You can't show up to a tournament and not have enough of the opposite gender, for whatever the majority may be, if it's not split down the middle, and expect to compete, because you will be sent home, right? So as opposed to, they're going to go out and they've been running track since the Romans, and now they're coming up with, okay, let's put them together. And so we're going to be a poster child for it. They can figure it out. It's great. It's a wonderful initiative. I hope that it continues, but it's going to be a secondary thought as far as other organizations are concerned.
Yeah, go ahead, Max.
I mean, I would just want to add to that, I mean, the International Olympic Committee and the United Nations have been working together for the past 2 decades trying to implement gender equality. This was the first Olympic Games that saw the results of this work, which is great, okay? But a lot of work still needs to be done. So then here we come, and we are, as Darren said, the only sport in the world, not only that is mandatory co-ed, but where men and women perform at the same level. If you do co-ed boxing, this does not apply for a series of reasons, okay? And we've seen problems with this, et cetera, et cetera. But we are definitely the poster child of co-ed disciplines. There is no other sport that does what we are doing. So hopefully you'll see us in 2028 in Los Angeles at the Olympic Games.
Well, you answered my question, because that was my next one. When I watched the race, I was excited about it, but it just felt off balance. You know, everyone performed so well, but it was just something about that being a co-ed sport that just felt too unbalanced, right? And I do think that you have something so amazing with FXC, because there's not this major imbalance of, and I'm going to say power, right? Because you can see these men blasting, and if the team itself does not create or strategize on who runs which leg, it throws off the entire team, versus FXC, where there's no leg to run. Everybody's in it together. So you're playing off of each one's power versus the power being imbalanced throughout the entire race, right? I can't remember the runner from, I think it was the Jamaican team, and it was a female, the last leg, and she was running with all the guys. And I mean, of course they lost, but I'm like, homegirl got to be bad if you hanging with these dudes, you know? But if take that into the FXC model, you get a better outcome. So you answer my question. Yep, go ahead.
And maybe this was just me because I tuned in late for it, but when you were watching that race, did you know, how was it described before the beginning of it started to let you know that this was going to be the co-ed race? Like, did they say, because like I said, I saw it, but I was late. So when they presented it to the audience, did they say, this is the co-ed relay race? Did they say this is the first co-ed relay race? Or did they just say, this is the relay race? You know, like,
to tell you the truth,
that's my question. So how was it presented to you as an audience member?
Yeah, honestly, I can't remember. I want to say it came on the screen as the co-ed, 4x4. Mm-hmm. And that was the thing, but I don't remember there being any kind of label that, okay, here's the first co-ed race. I mean, if first off, I'm a former track and field athlete, so that is like my go-to sport when the Olympics come. That's what I want to see the most out of anything. Yep. And when it came on, I just remember being so surprised, but excited too. But watching it, it was kind of exhilarating, but it was also painful, because if my girls got stuck competing against guys, it was a no-brainer. Like, the power is so unmatched, But yeah, that's how I remember it coming onto the screen.
Well, yeah. I asked for 2 reasons. The main reason is because the fact that it has to be denoted in the first place is a telling sign, because now we have to say this is a co-ed race as opposed to this is FXC. It's synonymous with the sport.
Exactly.
As opposed to saying this is a co-ed race.
And Sivonia, don't worry. If you want to see some women taking revenge on their friends, husbands, and we had that too. Playing in the other teams, FXC will do that, because I mean, and it's so fun for the audience as well, when you see a woman, doing something and getting rid of 2 men, they're marking her or things like that. And it's like, same thing for the men, of course, but we are more accustomed to see these movements in men, right? But when they are made by women, and it's like, ooh, okay, wow. Yeah. And that's not an exception. That's the norm. We are at the same level. So,
which and it makes me think about equestrian, like the horseback racing, because I watched that and I'm like, if you're going to make a sport co-ed, you're not physically doing the racing your horses. So why wouldn't you make that a co-ed sport? You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, to me, that would be more on the same equal footing in terms of the, the competitiveness. And it wouldn't be so off balance, but I don't know. So I guess we're going to see FXC in the Olympics. I personally can't wait because I haven't seen anything else that is inclusive of each gender, and inclusive of strength and performance abilities across the scale. So, I mean, how are you going to make it happen, Max?
Well, that is a complicated question. We are doing, I think, the right steps. We have already associated with the international organizations that are recognized by the International Olympic Committee and by the local, the single national Olympic committees. We are going to have, we are working on a Six Nation Cup in Rome for next year. Hopefully, in partnership with the Italian Olympic Committee. As a World Bank, we talk with the International Olympic Committee. So there are different ways. We just need to get there, and in the meantime, we want to expand the Fireball. So, which is exactly.
So the short answer is the short and the layman's term answer is we're going to start by having everybody on the planet play. That's the first. That's the short answer. Everybody's going to play, and there's going to be no option other than for it to FXC be included in the Olympics. Leave it up to Max to describe the technicals. But for everybody listening now, the starting is everybody play.
Okay. Yeah, and also very simple, very, very fast. This sport can be played with a ball. You just need a ball. It's highly adaptable. We play it in parks, parking lots, beaches. You name it. Single classrooms.
We played in the pool. It's not quite the same, the pool. But exactly. But we played in the pool.
Yeah. So, you just need a ball and you need just to play. It's tough. At amateur level, recreational level is a lot of fun. We have families with grandpas playing with nieces and granddaughters. At competitive level, this is a beast because you don't stop running. And so it's great for in both cases. And it's a great tool to have fun and to move. US are the first country in the obesity in adults, second in obesity in kids, and Mexico has the number reversed. And we need to move, and all the rest of the world is following suit. So we need to move. We are doing too much of this and too little of this. This is a perfect way with a little ball to have fun.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that. So now, like Darren said, to get because that's really going to catch attention. If there's a new sport around the world that has not been on the main stage like the Olympics, people are going to be wondering, why is this sport not in the Olympics? So how do you get people in the far corners of the world to play FXC?
Well, we have an international deal with a collaboration deal with for example, with the International Confederation of Sports of Amateur Athletes, which has 35 countries subscribing and 230 million people. We have already received requests of bringing Fireball into 11 countries, and we are already in 6. Albeit small numbers. We have a total of 4,800 people playing it right now. But we kept growing with the pandemic as well. So also we are the only sport that imposed its players to play and to train with face masks. And we never saw anybody complaining. And in Mexico, people train for 3 hours nonstop with a face mask. Okay. So if we can do it, and we are not pros, I think that, it can be done. But this is how, people are now demanding to play it, asking us to bring it there. So I think that, like this, and then organizing bigger and bigger events, this is what will help us to spread the sport and make sure that people find out who we are and what Fireball is.
Yeah. Is there a particular place where an aspiring Fireball Extreme athlete can go to get more information, or someone that may be a leader in a different country wanting to bring this sport to their country? Where can they go to get more info?
fireballsportfederation.com, and it's the official website. They can write us there. They can, I assume, reach Darren and I on LinkedIn and write. Our profile public, and or through Facebook, Facebook /explosive FXC. We have a community of over 30 something like that, 1,000 people. So social media, website, personal connections.
Yeah, FXC_Federation on both Instagram and TikTok, as we're working on growing those platforms. You can see lots of explosive content, great graphics of the diversity of the teams that have been competing thus far, and reach out to finding out how you can get involved with playing in a team. If you have, availability for a local team, great. If you want to start one, even better. So by all means, we're very responsive, and we love to hear from you guys.
That's awesome. Well, I'm super excited that you guys came onto the podcast. Low key, y'all, I've been trying to get them on the podcast anyway, so they finally got here.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, they finally got here. But I love it, and I'm so glad that you guys did come on, because what I love about FXC is the diversity and inclusion, which I feel gets lost so much in everything that we do, especially in the States. And so this is at the forefront of sport for you guys, which is completely different from other sports. It wasn't built with D&I at the top of the list, and we need more of that. And so I am personally praying that you all do get that achievement, reach that achievement by being a new sport introduced to the Olympics and have your debut on a world stage. That would be amazing. And it's two people I know. So I'm like, that's really cool. That would be really, really cool. Do you guys have any other parting words that you want to provide to the audience? Anything?
I want just to say your words to God's ears. And guys, if you want to put yourself to the test, have fun and try something, even at your house with your friends, etc. Just contact us, and try Fireball. I don't think you're gonna get disappointed. Might sound simple at the beginning. We have people saying, "Oh, it's simple, it's simple." Try to run for an hour non-stop, passing the ball on a large court, thinking and passing at 360 degrees. Then we talk about it.
Yeah, I don't think I'm coordinated enough.
And I would say, don't even get them started on the temperature, Max. So we'll let them just practice in the backyard first. But yeah, no, I echo that, and I look forward to seeing the expansion of FXC into becoming a household name, and seeing people of all ages playing it together, and ultimately everybody in Los Angeles in 28.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you guys make sure that you go and check out Fireball Extreme. You can go to fireballsportfederation.com to get more information, whether you are someone that just want to know more about the sport, if you want to be an athlete, if you are a leader in a different country trying to figure out how to diversify and provide more inclusion for your citizens and residents. Make sure you go to that website so that you can start implementing this in your own hometown. We need more of it. We need more people who are willing to come together to find, like Max said, find strength from our diversity. And this is a good way to do it. Make sure that you go and subscribe to What Are You Sporting About podcast so you never miss an episode. And make sure that you get our books, What Are You Sporting About at prosportlawyer.com. And you can also go to Athletes Making Moves, which is our newest release, and Amazon bestseller. You don't want to miss out on that. So many legal gems are being dropped in these books, and you will be at a loss if you do not get them. Until next time, guys, I am Sylvania DeBrow's protector of athletes. And as always, I am just so blessed that you guys stay with us and that you come back every week for more inspiration, motivation, and education. Check you later. Ciao.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us this week on What Are You Sporting About podcast. Make sure to visit our website, prosportlawyer.com, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever your favorite platform is, so you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes or iHeartRadio. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you like the show, you might want to check out our book, What Are You Sporting About? Attorney Savania DeBarros is available for private consulting at sldebarros.com. And remember, we're here to educate, support, and guide you in your journey to success, because we're all sporting about something.